Hi, I'm Louise Roche from Loise Roche Health and Fitness. So there was a period of time in my adult life where I focused on my fitness, but it was quite short-lived. And so for most of my adult life, I have been overweight, or at least struggled a lot with my weight. Before I started on this journey to a healthier life, I was struggling with back pain all the time. I was at risk for type 2 diabetes. I felt anxious a lot and just generally really unwell. I struggled to get up a set of stairs. You know, I'd find myself puffing by the time I got up my staircase at home. And that was just everyday life for me. I didn't really eat for most of the day. So I'd wake up, I'd get the kids ready, I'd do whatever needed to be done, and then come about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was absolutely ravenous. And then I would eat anything in sight up until about 11 o'clock at night. It's odd because in a way I used food to cope with life, with the daily stresses of life. But I also kind of used it to abuse myself in a way, because I deprived myself of nourishment all day long and then kind of stuffed my face for half the night. Emotionally, I felt empty. Physically, I felt sluggish, tired, and stressed. I always felt stressed and anxious about all the things that I had to do. But mostly, I would say empty. I remember walking up the stairs in my house. The stairs, as I said, by the time I got to the top, I'd be out of breath. And I have 3 small children. And I was approaching a milestone birthday. And I remember clearly thinking, do I want to be someone just sitting on the sidelines of my children's life, or do I want to be an active participant? And that moment was the turning point for me. Well, I knew that I needed to start exercising, but there was no way I was going to a gym. So what I did is I just made some small changes to my nutrition. So the first thing I did is I stopped drinking alcohol. Now, I was never actually a big drinker anyway, but the odd glass or two had slipped in at night with, you know, maybe I'd have a glass of wine while I was cooking dinner, that sort of thing. So I just stopped doing that. And then what I did is I set myself a time at night that I would not eat anything after that time. And to begin with, I made that about 8 o'clock. It's now much different, but at that time it was about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. What that meant is then when I woke up the next day, I was actually hungry, where previously I hadn't been because I'd been eating until 11 p.m. So then I'd wake up and I'd actually have some breakfast, which meant that I was starting to eat during the day, which unbeknownst to me was starting to fire my metabolism. So I lost about 5 kilos just doing that, and then, or maybe 6, and then by the time I dropped from say 94 kilos down to 88, then I thought, okay, now I need some help because I know that I can't do this by myself. And so that's when I started looking for a personal trainer. I did find it difficult to stick to the exercise in the beginning, and I think that was because, looking back, I was so used to not being a priority. I was so used to just it not being in any way part of my life. And so, and too, you know, as well as that, I had also, looking back, I realised that I had a really low self-worth. So what I did is I just started exercising twice a week. I knew that I needed to exercise more than that, but I also knew that I couldn't sustain it. And so that's what I did, and twice a week I could manage. I had to make it a priority, but I could manage it. I noticed changes in how I felt within a few weeks, certainly within the first month. I just noticed things like I wasn't quite as anxious, I was sleeping a little bit better at night, and things just got a little bit, clothes just became a little bit more comfortable. Not massively, but just a little bit. Well, that took a little bit longer. I suppose the first thing I noticed is my clothes weren't fitting anymore. And that took a few months at least to really sort of realise that weight was coming off. I didn't notice it in the mirror for much longer than that though. I'd say that took me about 2 years. About 2 years where I really felt like I can do this, I'm never going back, this is just where I'm at now. Along the way there are little memories that I have of things that happened to me along my journey. Before I said, that it took me a long time to notice how my physical appearance had changed. Really, it took me 2 years to be able to look in the mirror and see a different person. So the secret for me is consistency. So I watch what I eat, I make sure that I have healthy food choices with me, because if I get stuck and I have to make a choice, sometimes there aren't really healthy options available. And I now exercise every day. It's just part of my life, like brushing my teeth. And so provided that consistency is maintained, then it's not a huge struggle anymore. So usually what I do is when I get up of a morning, I have a glass of warm water with lemon in it. And that sort of kick-starts my day and kick-starts my metabolism. Then about half an hour later, I will either have a bowl of oats with some nuts sprinkled on top, or I'll have some sort of a protein shake with oats in it and berries, something that gives me a good hit of healthy carbohydrates and healthy fats and protein. Then for morning tea, I might have a boiled egg, or I might have, if I haven't had eggs for breakfast, which is another option, or I might have a handful of nuts or a small piece of fruit. Then lunchtime would typically be a salad with some protein, and then I'll have something with that like rice or quinoa or sweet potato. And then afternoon tea, I always carry a bag of nuts with me, so I often snack on nuts, but afternoon tea might be a handful of berries. And then dinner time is always salad and protein. And I don't really have much in the way of carbohydrates at night, but if I do, it's still the same sweet potato, quinoa, brown rice. Weight resistance training, without a doubt. Resistance training is my absolute favourite form of activity. It makes me feel fit, it makes me feel strong, it makes me feel healthy and powerful. I love it. I just love it. I would say everyone starts somewhere, and if I can do it, so can you. The idea was planted by some people close to me, but really I felt that my experience was unique. Most trainers have always loved fitness. They've come from a PE background or a sporting background, and they're passionate about fitness, which is fantastic. But it means that they don't understand what that struggle is like and what it feels like to pull yourself out of feeling unwell, unworthy, and pushing yourself forward to nourishing yourself with exercise and food. And so I felt I had a unique perspective to offer people And that's why, firstly, I became a personal trainer, but then I realised that there's not enough focus on food, and really, food is about 80% of the struggle. So then I went back and studied nutrition at Deakin. I help people reclaim their lives. Without a doubt, that is the biggest honour, because I have parents who now are actively involved in their children's life. I have, it allows people, losing weight is just part of it. Exercise is medicine. So these people go from being unhealthy and unwell into a state of activity where they can get out and enjoy their life. It's not about being stuck in the gym 5 days a week. If that's what you love, great. But it's about getting out and maybe bike riding with the kids or going on a bushwalk. And without a doubt, I mean, it gives me tingles to even talk about it, because it's wonderful to be able to be a part of someone else's story like that. People can come to my website, which is louiseroche.com.au, and on my website it has all the details about my own story and what I've experienced, but it also tells you how you can contact me and come and see me for a session if that's what you'd like to do.